Welcome to the Leadership Exposé podcast. This podcast is for purpose-driven leaders at diverse levels and organizations around the world who are seeking to scale and transform their leadership, to level up their business, and to create an impact on the lives of people all around them. Business and boardroom topics, trends, innovation, transformation, and the intersection with leadership is the focus. We enable success. I'm your host, Stephen Paul. In this episode, I'm delighted to host Bart Schillebeeks, the owner and director of a Belgian consulting company, AD Internet Consulting. He is a chief architect and visionary for new technologies, specialized in transforming global or multinational companies using new technologies. We will hear about his vision on the next technological exponential age, the disruptions it will bring to people and business ecosystems, including changes to cloud, blockchain, nanotech, AI, 3D manufacturing, quantum computing, drones, robotics, social media, and so forth. Welcome, Bart. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine, Stephen. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Bart, for the purposes of our audience, tell us where you're based.
I'm actually based in Belgium. So I'm 55 years old. I'm based in Belgium in a little town called Lummen, which is more on the east side. I've been now a consultant for, I had my company for about 24 years, and I'm in the IT industry for about 30.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know you've just touched upon your personal journey and your professional side of things, but is there anything more that you want to elaborate in terms of your personal and the intersection with your professional journey and how you've come about doing some of the things that you're doing currently?
Yes, sure. I think I have to go way back.
Go for it.
A little bit to explain what I am and who I am and what I do, which is literally to my childhood. I had a very warm childhood, but I was actually born into a family of disabled parents. So my mother was in a wheelchair, my father couldn't walk very much, and I saw them struggling and fighting that was in the 70s. With actually gaining equality and inclusion, you would say, call it today. So that probably gave me a strong sense of righteousness and equality. Unfortunately, my mother passed away when I was 18, which also kind of was a black period in my life. I basically stopped my education. I just finished high school, you would call it in English, but I didn't go to university because it was a less than ideal period. And I basically went to work for the next 10 years in the hospitality industry. So I completely didn't start in IT. I'm, let's say, fully autodidact. I have no formal training in that. At that time, of course, there was also almost no formal training to be had, which was one of the issues. But I knew from a very young age that I always wanted to I know how things work. I was very interested in technology, in science, in science fiction, even paranormal stuff. Always trying to find out just by opening things and looking into them. I got a brand new radio when I was 12.
Yeah.
I broke it open after a week just to see how it worked.
Yeah.
So I was always into technology. And also into social dealings with people.
Yeah.
So basically, I started off my career in working in the hospitality industry. I worked on a cruise ship for a year. which was a very nice experience, seeing other cultures and seeing something from the world. And due to a kind of yeah, when I was 26, I was able to buy myself my first PC,
Yeah.
and it started from there. Basically, I worked, I hobbied with it. By coincidence, found a job as a PC technician, and that's where my career started in the IT technologies. So I've basically done most of the roles that there are to do within infrastructure. I'm not a developer, I'm on the infrastructure side,
Yeah.
but also program management, project management, process architecture. And now I would call myself a senior enterprise architect, and I specialize in transforming large companies mostly towards cloud these days, and yeah, helping them and guiding them in their technology decisions.
Wonderful. I mean, it's amazing because you're so much in tune with a lot of the changes that are happening globally with companies and so forth. Keen to hear about your vision on this next technological exponential age.
Yeah, it's probably my strongest talent is I have a lot of things that I can't do very well, like everybody probably. But my strongest talent is that I have a very quick overview of possibilities, issues, how to remediate them, etc. And that's basically where I built my career on. So yeah, we're standing in front of a very interesting times. I probably the most interesting times we will ever have, that we ever had, let's say, and that we will ever have are bound on us. Everything is growing exponentially. Not only the pure IT computing, let's say, or cloud, but yeah, what I like to talk about are the new technologies that are coming that are really big disruptors for the world as is, which is much more than just the technology, but yeah, also changing social systems, financial systems, etc. I don't
Wonderful.
know where you want me to start.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm just curious to hear about um, lots of changes that are happening here. So companies are facing a lot of disruption when it comes to different changes. You mentioned about cloud. There's so many other changes such as blockchain and nanotech and so forth, AI and so forth. How do you basically bring some awareness to some of the business leaders on how they need to be looking at all of this holistically?
It's mostly about mentoring and guiding people. It's not really about the technology, but let's, for example, start with crypto. I'm an avid crypto fan. Um, for the reasons that it's the technology won't disappear. Which crypto technology will in the end be used, and which will win? There are a lot of religious debates about that.
Yeah.
And most people still understand crypto as just it's like another different coin or a different monetary system, but it's so much more than that. It's basically a decentralized, that's the key word, technology where there's no owner, which you can use in a very transparent way to have a single state of truth,
Yeah.
where then you can use that as a monetary system, or for example, it will disrupt so many industries. I always give the example of I'm a musician, and where in the past I had to go through a record label to be able to produce something and hopefully then get known in the world.
Yeah.
And then I need to pass a lot of my earnings onto systems that account for authors' rights and record labels and marketing, etc., etc. For example, if I'm with crypto, I can create my own music. I can attach that to a blockchain with a non-fungible token,
Yeah.
where there's a smart contract attached to it, which gives me every time the thing is played, for example, 10 euro cents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where that it will disrupt, the music industry has been disrupted already a lot with things like Spotify and downloading, etc.
Yeah.
But it will give you a direct access to the world.
Yeah.
And that will mean that for those industries that they will need to rethink what they're doing, or they will completely disappear.
Yeah. It's such an important aspect, right? So I'm curious, Bart. So as a senior enterprise architect, or a chief architect, as I like to describe that, if I were a business or a company looking to leverage your expertise, how would a conversation between you and I sound like?
I usually I am with larger term contracts. So I currently have three to four customers. But mostly I cater my advice based on what your company is doing, and especially the maturity level of your company.
Yeah.
Through my experience, I found very much that it's not that easy, even if you introduce the latest technologies and ways of working, if your maturity of your company can't handle it yet, it will just fail.
Is it from an
So
organizational perspective, though, or is it from a technological perspective when you say maturity?
no, organizational. So
Yeah.
state of development, maturity in their culture.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
company is different. Those are the more guiding factors on what we can do technology wise. So unfortunately, yeah, that's there's so many disruptions now coming for these companies. Everybody's still gathering to go to cloud, which for some companies even is hasn't they haven't started their journey yet. So I create strategies for them, etc.
Yeah.
But the disruption will increase tenfold in the coming 10 years, so that for me, going to cloud is actually fairly normal. It's another business model, but that's for me already in the past. It's something I'm doing at this moment, but we'll go from cloud to decentralization, where you have applications running somewhere on a blockchain, or supported by a blockchain, that you won't know where your CPU and your storage is, etc. And these give a lot of repercussions on the legal side, and on how people perceive what data is and where data is, and how we're going to use that. So
Yeah. So architecture, I'm a strong advocate of architecture, from a business architecture to technology architecture to enterprise architecture. So with companies, they sometimes don't understand the role of architecture in this, and what it means to innovation and so forth, or how they need to be organizationally ready or mature.
yeah.
Can you enlighten us on the value of architecture in its holistic definition?
Yes, sure. First of all, I would like to say that your architect needs to be your trusted advisor, and that we have many different kind of architects on multiple levels: enterprise architects, solution architects, technical architects. I always compare it with building a real building in the real world. You have a chief architect who designs the building, the color, the number of floors, and how the structure looks like. And then you have a lot of solution architects or internal architects that design the plumbing and the electricity and calculate everything in regards to strength and vibration and earthquakes and whatever. And then you have the technical architects that are really specialized within their area of technology, and then deploy the systems and create them together with people that build them, of course. And it's the same in IT. It's like making virtual buildings. If you forget to lay the right foundations, or you start without having a design, without having a vision, then you will just create a building that looks like a shack in the end. So it's really important. Many companies don't have, especially the smaller ones, don't have that yet. And that's because they grow from an engineering perspective. So you have engineers that keep computer systems running, and then there needs to be a new, and it's the engineers that choose something. But an engineer has a very narrow perspective on things. He is very good in a certain technology, knows all the buttons and keys and whatever it needs to run, but he doesn't have a broad perspective. I used to be an engineer, and then you know everything about your technology, but you really don't know how this would affect another technology or an application or something else. So,
it's
so
go
it's
on.
really important. I would call myself a pragmatic architect. You also have the downside of architecture, which it can get lost in a lot of holistic discussions on colors of arrows and how a picture needs to be drawn, etc. And then you are passing the objective.
You touched on a very key word there, pragmatic architect, because you're right. I mean, people tend to go in a labyrinth of discussions when it comes to architecture, but I'm a strong advocate of that, and because there is a lot of technological and business change, which is leading to that exponential age, or we are in that exponential age. It also means that companies need to be focusing on this aspect, but in a pragmatic way. And you described that in different forms here, which was quite useful. So is it fair to say then that some of the conversations that you would be having are with, the CIOs, the COOs, the CEOs, basically the C-suite, to help them bring that knowledge as to taking a step back, looking at it more holistically, but also intersecting that with some of the the changes that's happening, or the disruptions that are happening in the ecosystem. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a very fair statement. It's actually most of what I do is help people understand the technology. That's the first part, but also and that's why also the reason why I'm so strong on this podcast on the disruptions it will bring is the social impact, the human impact of things, of technology, and even the spiritual impact of technology. It's all nice that we create technology and it's all fun and everybody loves to do it, but if the human race or the population in the end gets worse because it was a well-intended technology, but it was not thought through very well, then we're worse off, I would say. And you see that social impact already in social media, for example, where there's a single narrative defined by somebody somewhere. Then you have fact checkers, and then you need fact checkers for the fact checkers, and you're on a kind of a social sliding scope, just because the algorithms that are behind social media are tuned to create conflict or to create discussion, because that's where these social media live from. And this gives a social disruption. I feel already now. We just passed through some interesting times where you easily get to deal with mass psychosis and single narratives and people are actually suffering from certain ideas, etc.
Yeah.
And especially then, if we go into the next VR, metaverse, social Web 3.0,
Yeah.
that will only increase, and people need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So it's much more of not just on what is the technology and how do I use it, but why do you want to use it and should I use it, and so and this is really unrepresented in our industry, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, true. So Bart, I'm curious, what's one thing that's your secret formula to your success?
Like I said in the beginning, it's probably my talent in quickly assessing a situation and getting an overview and getting a feel for what the customer needs or wants, of course. It's always a combination. So I usually get hired to do migrations or split offs or joins of companies, and to then lead that into a new technology. But my profile is fairly broad. It's not just being an architect. It's much more being a mentor and a visionary, and putting some little seeds somewhere in the company that they can grow. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, amazing. Bart, we're coming to a close very shortly here. Is there any closing messages or a challenge to other companies or executive leaders or boards or organizations or even in industries that you want to share with?
Yeah, it's mostly that impact. If you look at the impact, for example, of AI, that will disrupt so many people's jobs. You don't need a person to get a mail in an inbox and put a stamp on it and then send it out again. So this will give so much world disruption because people identify themselves with their career and their jobs. It's thought that we will get the singularity where AI becomes smarter than people in the next 10 years. Certain scientists say that. This will give so much social upheaval that companies and CIOs and engineers and developers really need to think about, why am I doing this, and should I be doing this, and what is the impact besides the technology. That's my biggest message actually. The technology itself is great. We can do utopian things with it, but it could be very easily a dystopian thing that is happening in the end, and that's just human nature and power and so everything that our history tells us. These technologies will make it much more disruptive and much bigger, so we need to handle them carefully.
Wonderful. Bart, thank you very much for sharing with us your journey, but also your insights on architecture, but the exponential age that or the considerations that companies need to be taking into consideration. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. I'm very happy to do it. It's going to be interesting times, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Bart, thank you very much. Okay, folks, thank you very much for listening in, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will hear about digital currencies and how some of the new banks, neobanks, are putting that into place. Stay tuned for that, and stay on for an exclusive offer for you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Hey, I hope you enjoy the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You're now seeing this part of the video also because you consume some of my content, insights, and teachings. Maybe you've been to my LinkedIn page or website or seen other social media ads or listened to my podcast. I'm Stephen Paul, a business and transformational executive coach, strategic advisor, leader, and board member. I've been in diverse roles, corporate executive, entrepreneur, and worked with businesses and firms of all sizes, built and launched businesses, created high impact boards and so forth in 4 continents. I get it. I've been there, done that. But what is different is I bring a unique perspective and a playbook. I've helped 100+ business leaders just like you to scale and align their leadership top teams, the board, and overall business for growth. Leaders like Ivana from medium-sized company in the EU who grew 150% and expanded globally in under 5 months. After she started to work with me over facilitated sessions in an initial 3 days, I helped fine-tune their strategy and align their leadership team and board to be a cohesive driving force to achieve their dreams and outcomes. I want to teach you the same thing and more on how to scale and align your leadership team and board so you can increase your business growth and value. Get clarity on what is the next right strategy for you. There are multiple ways we can work with you. Number 1, click the link for a free, non-obligatory 60-minute initial strategic session. Let's get a feel for your dreams, your vision, your challenges, and let me convert that into a roadmap for you where we can co-develop and co-pilot. Number 2, enroll in an innovative and intuitive digital online course that I have created to help you transform. It's called Unshakable Resilience. It is the ultimate program for individuals and business leaders like you who want to be equipped at a personal and professional level to respond to any form of challenges or in crisis situations and take on opportunities with grit, resilience, and build a mindset of success. In essence, you want to be unshakable, thrive in crisis, take on opportunities in the face of adversity, and build a success mindset. So, click the link below to learn more on how I can personally help you individually and your firm to scale and align your leadership team and business and pivot in a transformational way. And for you to experience this, whatever the challenge you're facing, get in touch with me. Let's discuss, and I will share my insight rapidly to enable your transformation. Click the links below.